Well, hello and welcome to the Mix 6 podcast as part of The Mix, the UK's #1 digital support service for young people. We have a very, very special episode today where I'm not hosting. We are handing it over to a very familiar face at The Mix. His name is Owen Wood, winner of last year's BBC's Race Across the World. Owen, it's almost been a year since we caught up.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Time just flies. And I remember going into London, sitting with you doing that first kind of episode, and everyone was no one kind of really knew what was going on because it was like the first one. We were kind of just winging it. But then it ended up turning out really well.
How has life been since we last caught up last year?
Yeah, life's been very busy, tricky, lots of changes all the time as it happens. Obviously I had all the stuff from the TV kind of after that all aired, so busy from all that chaos. And then I went traveling solo, by myself on my own terms. That was end of last year into kind of early this year. Got back from that, and I had a bit of a wobble after I got back from that. I was just really, really struggling, kind of adapting back to a normal life. Obviously, I kind of had all the chaos and rush from the TV, which is something I'd never experienced before. And then I went straight from that into traveling, like solo traveling, which again, I'd never done before. And these are all obviously great things that I enjoyed and I'd never take it for granted. But it was just so much all at once. And then when you get back home from something like that, it just kind of all comes crashing down on you at once. And I didn't anticipate any of that. And it does, when you kind of get to my age, as I'm learning, like 21, 22, I feel like life gets so much more complicated. There's so much more pressure from what should I do? Am I doing the right thing? Am I hanging out with the right people and stuff like that? And it was just every kind of, emotion and thought kind of came to me all at once. And it was just like what do I do with all this? And it was just kind of managing that. But, slowly but surely after those couple months, after getting back from traveling, I kind of worked my way back up to a more stable level, and here we are kind of talking openly about mental health and stuff like that again, which is it's a good feeling. I'm glad I'm kind of back at a stable point now.
Nice. Yeah, it definitely feels like you've gone like full circle. You went from being a guest to now being a host.
That's very true actually.
Hosting your first podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about the chat about this episode?
We're kind of a partnership with JD Sports, so a few of their employees came in, and we just spoke about general mental health, kind of more men's mental health within young people, and specifically within the kind of retail area. Obviously, I've worked in retail before, so have a lot of people. So I feel like this episode can really relate to a lot of people, and young people that might be getting their first job in retail, which is a very common thing. This might really kind of resonate with them. And just give them a few pointers. Some of the guests said some things that I'd never thought of or said about online before. So they gave a really good insight to kind of that perspective of mental health within men, within the retail world. So it was a really insightful conversation.
100%. I was there in the background listening to you all. Absolutely loved it. It was a great chat, and it's just a chat that's very much needed. And I can't wait for the listeners to listen to it too. So here it is. This is Owen Wood and the JD podcast around retail and well-being.
Hello, so it's Owen, and today we're back with another episode for the Mix 6 podcast. I'm joined by 3 JD employees here who are going to talk about mental health in the workplace and, their own personal experience with it. So to get started, we're going to do name, age, and your current position title at your job. So Ryan, let's start with you.
So I'm Ryan Lloyd, and I'm one of the People's Development Advisors for JD, and I'm 29 years old as of Sunday.
Nice. Well, happy early birthday for that.
My name is Mark. I'm the branch manager of Birmingham New Street JD. I've been in the company for 4 years, and I'm 21.
And I'm Flynn, the assistant manager of our flagship in the Birmingham Bullring, and I am 26.
Nice, great. So we've got a good range of ages and management roles and stuff like that there. That's good to hear. So let's go straight into it. We'll go into the quick fire questions bit just to break the ice a little bit, So Ryan, again, we'll start with you. I'm just going to ask you 6 very random questions. Just say the first answer that comes to mind, and then we'll move on to the next person. So first question, nice easy one. TikTok or Instagram?
Instagram.
Xbox or PlayStation?
PlayStation.
Your favourite travel destination or your favourite country you've ever been to or want to go to?
Poland.
Nice. Okay, so favourite genre of music or your favourite music artist? Anyone that stands out?
Probably metal music.
Yeah.
I can't think of an artist at the moment.
Nah, that's fair. No, metal music will do. Your favourite school subject or university degree, something like that?
Oh, computers, software engineering.
Yeah, fair enough. And the last question is, if you weren't doing what you were doing at JD, what would you be doing? What could you see yourself doing if you weren't at JD, basically?
I'd probably still be in software engineering.
Yeah, fair enough. Nice to hear. Right, let's go on to Flynn next. So same questions, once again, we'll blitz through them. So I'll mix up a bit. So what was your favourite subjects at school?
Chemistry.
Chemistry, okay. Favourite genre or your music artist?
R&B. Favourite artist, Thames.
Yeah, nice. If you weren't at JD, what would you think you'd be doing?
I'd be a zookeeper.
Oh, okay, interesting. Your favourite travel destination?
The Netherlands.
Netherlands, okay. PlayStation or Xbox?
PlayStation.
And then last one, TikTok or Instagram?
TikTok.
Right, sweet, good to hear. Right, Armaan, on to you, mate. So let's go from the top again. TikTok or Instagram?
Instagram.
Favourite travel destination?
I want to go to Bali. That's where I want to go.
Bali.
Yeah.
I haven't been either properly, to be fair, but I do. PlayStation or Xbox?
PlayStation.
Favourite genre or music artist?
I'm going to say Drake for music artist.
Yeah, fair enough. Favourite school subject or university subject?
I'm going to go with maths. Yeah.
Maths, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Good one.
Yeah, fair enough. If you weren't at JD, what would you be doing, do you think?
Something to do with properties, like real estate or something like that.
Okay, nice. You got an interest in that then?
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Sweet. Right. Well, that was the quick six icebreaker. So we'll go on to the main questions now. And this is to do with like your career journey progression. How you found it. So, first question is for Armaan. So, you've had a really impressive journey from where you started off as part-time sales assistant to the position you've got yourself in now. How has your mental health been impacted, negatively and positively throughout this time, your kind of career progression? How's your mental health kind of coped with all this, in both ways?
Yeah. So I think very early on, it was a lot easier because I was like junior management. Obviously, the higher you go, the more people you're responsible for. So I think as it's gone bigger, essentially, and the roles have gone bigger, the people have got bigger. So like now I'm dealing with a team of 100, and it's hard to have to deal with 100 people and all of their life, like their aspects, like what's going on with them. How you can help them with that. So I think it kind of sounds daunting when someone says you've got 100 people out underneath you. It's like, wow, like how crazy is that? So I think negatively, it's like dealing with their issues and taking them on board and being a mutual ground, but also dealing with your own issues. If that makes sense. So,
yeah.
But I also see it in a very positive thing as well, because I feel like I'm helping people. I mean, loads of my employees are between the age of 17, 18, so they're very young.
Quite young, yeah.
And like I think being able to help them or give them advice or just put them on the straight path or literally anything, if it's a sit down conversation, I find that really rewarding. And in turn, I think it's like massively impacted my mental health, because sometimes I do sit there and I think, look what they're going through compared to what you think you might be going through.
Yeah.
Look at their situation or anything like that. So I think it kind of humbles me and it brings me back down to earth, and it kind of like makes me stronger. Like every single day I think I come into work and I have a conversation or I deal with something and I feel like it genuinely does make me stronger. And I feel like it's massively made my mental health stronger 100%, because I have to be strong for these lot. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like
100%,
I feel like it's impacted my mental health more positively than negatively. 100%.
Good. Yeah,
like 100%.
Yeah, that's interesting. I feel like a lot of people, if they, like you said, like here's 100 people, you're responsible for all of them. I feel like a lot of people would just kind of jump straight to, oh my God, like how can I deal with this? I need to look after myself as well as all these people. But you've kind of taken that and turned it into a good thing. Whereas I don't know if I'd be able to, be able to look after 100 people and feel like really good about it straight away. I'd feel like responsible and nervous. But it sounds like you've kind of flipped that into a positive, emotion and impact on yourself.
I think at the start the nerves are definitely there, and I think it's very good.
Yeah.
I feel like JD's really good at making sure you're protected as well and you're looked after. That's obviously my managers, my area manager, regional manager, they're always there to help out. So I've still got a support system as well, if that makes sense. Nice. So I feel like the structure is always to make sure everyone's fine.
Okay, that's good. So yeah, so no one's kind of left out. You're not just left. So
Yeah.
you're kind of looked after by everyone. Okay, that's nice to hear. That's good to hear. Definitely. Right, great answer, mate. So on to Flynn next. So you just studied a demanding degree and worked in management at the same time. What kind of mental pressure did you experience during that period, and what ways did you cope?
I think I went and studied chemistry at uni. I also maintained a management role whilst I was doing it, and alongside that, I also wanted to like experience living as a student and doing that student life. So like, it was a lot of plates that I was spinning.
Yeah, I bet.
I wanted to apply myself 100% to every single aspect of it. I think you have to take some time for yourself and not allow that like feeling of guilt when you're not doing anything to like take over. I think the biggest kind of like threat to my mental health or that mental pressure would be burnout. There was a lot going on. I was 24/7,
Yeah.
and I had like a really supportive family to cheer me on, and I was fortunate enough to have them. My housemates ended up being two of my best friends, and we had to look after each other. So we would always advocate for like trying to spend an hour with each other every night, watch a film, go for a walk, and take that time away without having that feeling of guilt for just not doing anything.
Yeah.
But the feeling of burnout is just so much worse, and I think really have to advocate and allocate some time for yourself to do nothing.
Yeah, definitely.
And just be with yourself and not allow, because it can be overwhelming.
No, yeah, definitely.
And again, even with work, we had a really supportive store manager at the time who was really understanding around my exam period and allowed me to reflect my schedule around that. But these all come from having conversations with people, checking in with people. So yeah, like it can be overwhelming, but I think the most important thing for me was to just make sure that I was allowing some time for myself.
Yeah. So something I picked up there, you're saying kind of being open with people. So you're saying talking to other people and like raising the problems that you have like helped you. That was one of your ways of coping.
100%. I mean, I work better under stress, if I'm honest, like a little bit of stress. And I actually feel like if there's a time constraint or there's a bit of pressure to what I'm doing, I do actually work better. So it's not all bad, but like you don't want to allow that stress to become overwhelming or kind of like crush you. And you need to be able to have those conversations with people, because I was in a situation with many other people who were probably experiencing the same thing. So we can look after each other. We can take time for each other.
100%.
We can have those conversations and just detach a little bit, to be honest.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's a really good way to look at it, and a good way to cope. Right, I've got a question that's kind of going out to all three of you generally now. So working in a fast-paced environment, what signs do you look out for when it comes to your team's mental well-being, especially the male colleagues? So what are your kind of triggers that you think, this person might not be doing so well, and how can I help them? That's to all of you. If any of you want to chip in.
I think for me, one thing I look for, especially from a male perspective, is I think males tend to just stay quiet. So if I'm a member or a team member that's normally outgoing, normally very active, if I notice a dip in their buzzing, like them buzzing around shop floor, or like a dip in their sociability, like I would then question it, because I'll be like, well, what's going on here? Because males won't speak up. Like I feel like it's just something we all do. Like I feel like I can speak for myself. If I'm going through something, I'm going to be quiet about it. That's just that's how we are as males, unfortunately. So I feel like if I notice that within a staff member or a team member, that's the first thing I will look out for, and that's the first sign for me to be like, that's a concern. That's where I need to jump in and help out. If that makes sense.
Got yeah. Okay, Ryan, anything from you on that one? What you look out for, or anything?
Yeah, just jumping on the back of what Flynn said. Yeah, definitely. So in the DC especially, you get a lot of that during peak time, where people don't necessarily talk. Men don't necessarily open up. As you say, it's very embedded into us, really. Especially during peak, when operations becomes a main focus, it can easily go amiss. So I think it's just applying that extra focus on checking in on people, seeing how people are doing, taking that extra time, because it can definitely still play on your mind even when you are busy, of course.
Yeah, 100%. Nice. Flynn, anything to add to that, or kind of just what Ryan and Armaan said here?
To echo what everyone's already said, and I think particularly in retail, Armaan's right, like there isn't that kind of open conversation between males, and I think your happiest employee, your person that's always buzzing, you know, they're also susceptible to going through things, and like identifying those behavioural changes is really important, and just kind of extending an olive branch to those people. And I think, you know, the common theme is like men don't want to talk, or they don't feel like they can talk, but extending that olive branch, they might not want to talk on the day, but you've gave them an opportunity that maybe they go and sit on that for a while and then reach out. And I think for us in retail as well, like, it's really important to signpost these things. I think it's common for men not to want to talk, which obviously we know we need to change. But you know, what avenues are available or resources are available that we can signpost to them without even having to have a conversation. Because sometimes it's easier to speak to someone you don't know than it is to speak to someone that you do know.
100%. Yeah, so it's just about giving them the opportunity.
Allow them the chance to go and find that if that's what they see fit.
Yeah, so kind of give them the opportunity or the resource to get help, and then they can kind of act upon that. So you're not kind of shoving, you're not forcing down their throat or anything. They can kind of choose what to do with that. Okay. Yeah, that's a really good way of kind of dealing with that, I feel, actually. That's a very good point. Okay, Ryan, question for you here. So what would you say to a young person starting at JD who might be struggling mentally but is hesitant to speak up? Kind of what we just spoke about. That's from Ryan.
I'm quite happy to say that the company that we work for has a lot of resource around this. So my best advice to people just joining the business would be to take advantage of those opportunities, to talk to people. So we have an abundance of welfare champions within the business. We have a lot of support online through our various sources that we have that give people the opportunity to talk about mental health in their own way, a way that's comfortable to them. So there's plenty of ways of navigating it. I would definitely encourage people to take advantage of those opportunities.
Do you feel like in kind of where you work at, particularly like your store, do you feel like it's quite an open community, like people can feel like they can speak up? Do you know, is it that kind of atmosphere or vibe where you are?
I believe so.
Okay.
So we have a robust structure in terms of our leadership, and that gives people a wealth of opportunity to approach not only their leaders, but again, welfare champions around that. So there's always an avenue. It's just encouraging people to feel comfortable enough to approach those people and
use them.
Yeah.
Got you. Okay. No, that's nice. That it's like a good system set up that everyone kind of feels like they can be using and stuff like that. Okay, great. So on to a question for all of you again. If you could change one thing about how society views men's mental health, what would it be?
There's like a societal expectation for men to just like deal with it. And I think like that's really discouraging, and it discourages men from talking or showing vulnerability as if it's some weakness. And I think it's really important for people to understand, like, we are all human. We are all experiencing the same emotions. We're all dealing with life and what it throws at us. And we need to be able to encourage having these conversations, and we need to be able to encourage people to talk, to seek help without facing any stigma towards it. It really doesn't affect like your identity or how people should view you. Just go and do what you need to do to make sure that like you're prioritizing your mental health.
Yeah, okay. That's a very good point. Armaan or Ryan, kind of anything on the back of that or anything different?
I think I'll just touch upon what Flynn said. I feel like just making the expectation the norm. So like making it normal for you to speak out. Like I think, like Flynn said, we are all human. I think once society classes everyone as one, I feel like males and females are still very much classed as two totally different things. But at the end of the day, we are still humans. It's very normal for females to talk about their mental health. So like I said, we're both the same people. So why can't men and males do that? So I think it's just that, just making sure everyone is on the same page and everyone knows that we're all human. So we should be able to speak out about it. And it just, simply, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it is slowly changing, isn't it? Like that kind of vibe towards like men can speak out about it if they feel comfortable. Like it is slowly starting to get that way, but there's a long way to go, but it'll get there eventually. So one last question. This is out to all of you again. So peak seasons like your back to school, Black Friday, Christmas, that can be like intense and demanding in retail. how do you personally manage your mental well-being during these kind of really busy times? Like, do you feel extra stress, and is there too much work to do? How do you kind of deal with that extra mental pressure? And that's to all of you again.
I think if I speak from mine and Flynn's perspective, from an actual in-store retail perspective,
yeah,
hard. Like, and I think you need to know it's going to be hard, so have that expectation. Like Christmas, especially from where we're from, like Birmingham, it's disgustingly busy.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, but I think what I do and what I say to my team is just have fun. Like, if you do not have fun and you don't embrace the busyness, you will stress out. So the best thing I do is just let stuff happen, let everything flow. Whatever happens, happens. Have set structures and systems, but if something doesn't work, it doesn't work. Move on. Like, but just have fun. I think if you just have fun, it's a very fun experience. Like, I love Christmas at JD. Like, I think it's so
really
paced. I feel like
so
some
it's just
people
what you make it.
Yeah, no, I feel like some people might be like, how can you enjoy how busy it is? But if you're with people that you love working with, you're working for a company that lets you have fun whilst working.
Okay,
like, there's no reason why you can't enjoy it.
Yeah, no, that's really encouraging to hear, actually, because I used to work at Sainsbury's ages ago, and I remember Christmas was just, it would either go one of two ways. It would either be really fun or just a complete nightmare. But normally, if you keep everything like slightly under control, then yeah, no, it can be quite good fun, the rush. But Ryan or Flynn, kind of anything to add to that? Any of those periods that you find a bit more stressful, how you deal or cope with that?
I think very similar to what has already been said, really. It gets very busy, of course, during that time, and conversations can become to a minimum. For us individually, I think it's taking that time out, even when it is busy. It's very easy to burn out when we're constantly in the flow of it. In the DC, we get that quite a lot, where it's very process focused during that time. There's a lot of figures being brought in, a lot pushed out, so it's just making sure that people still take that time out for themselves to process their own emotions, really. Stations.
Yeah, nice. Anything from you, Flynn?
I think for me, it's like, as Armaan said, I actually love it when it's busy. I feel like I'm on my toes. It's a challenging environment, but I'm always up for a challenge. I think one thing that I've learned in my time in retail is like peak periods, particularly Christmas. Yes, it's busy for us and there's a lot going on, but Christmas might be a really difficult time for some people.
Yeah, very true. Yeah,
for our own like employees that work with us, our own teams. Also, it might be a difficult time for customers that are shopping with us. Cost of living. There's an expectation of Santa bringing all their gifts under the tree. And I think one of the things that I definitely learned in retail is like it can be really challenging, and it does come with some situations or some people that aren't managing it appropriately, both our own teams and customers. And I think it's really important to just take a breath and realize it's not personal, and we just see like how best we can overcome this, because for a lot of people it's about family, and retailers work a lot over Christmas, but for some people that might not be a positive experience for them.
Definitely.
We only ever think about how busy it is and make sure we're having fun at work, but for some people it might just be a really challenging time. So we just need to really like take that into account when we're managing these really busy periods.
Yeah, because you can kind of get like tunnel vision, can't you? You kind of get so sucked into your own world, and like you said, when you're busy at work, all you're thinking about is getting the job done. But then you might come across like an angry customer, but then you don't. Honestly, I didn't even think about this point, so it's really good that you raised it. But then you realise that they've got their own problems, like you said, like cost of living, or they might not have a family to spend Christmas with. Kind of thinking why they're upset and angry, and kind of dealing with it in the right way. Yeah, and that's a really good point. Honestly, I didn't even think of that. So that's a really good point. But at least, it's good that you can all kind of manage the stress and the kind of cope in your own ways. Another question for all of you, last one. If there was one thing, one piece of advice that you could kind of give out to anyone listening, what would that be? Like anything you've learned yourself or anything you think would be useful for other people?
I think one thing that I can definitely encourage people to do is when they speak out about it, it encourages other people to speak out about it.
Definitely.
It's something I've noticed firsthand especially when you get a very typical embodiment of someone that might not necessarily talk about that sort of stuff, and you find them to be talking about that. It encourages so many other people to engage. So for people watching this, take that away, talk about these things more often and make it more normal.
Just say it. Yeah, no, good.
think for me, it's very similar to what Ryan just said. I feel like just speak out about it and speak out about whatever you're going through, because you will feel a lot better. Trust me from experience. Speaking about something makes it a lot better. Literally, just you verbally saying something will ease your mind, hopefully help with what you're dealing with, and just make you feel a lot better about yourself, to be honest.
Yeah. Nice.
I think for me, like, there's one way you should see it. Like, it's a privilege if someone opens up to you and wants to have that conversation with you and trusts you to do that. And I think sometimes we shy away from having those conversations because we feel like we need to tell them how to deal with it. Whereas I think the majority of the time they're just looking for someone to listen and just actually hear them out. I don't think they want advice. I don't think they want to be told what to do. I think they just want to be heard and listened to.
They just want the weight off their shoulders. Yeah.
Exactly. And take that as a privilege that they trust you to do that. And that would be my advice, really.
Yeah, sweet. Nice. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you kind of had fun and whatnot. I really enjoyed listening to kind of your perspectives and opinions on these questions. So thank you for like sharing your own experiences and stuff like that.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.